Hello there, my name is Francis Ramos and welcome to my channel where I talk about video games, movies, TV shows, D&D, and all things that are nerdy. And on this particular video, we're going to be talking about how to create a more in-depth D&D character for your campaign. Coming up. So when it comes to developing a D&D character, you've already rolled your stats, you've already chose your character appearance, and you already know your class and race. Next thing that I highly recommend is to come up with a sort of backstory for your character. And how in-depth you want to go, that's really up to you. But it really boils down to answering a few key questions that your characters and you yourself as a player should know. Like, for instance, why is your character an adventurer? Where did he learn how to fight? Or where did she learn how to fight? These questions are key because when you have downtime or when you have some sort of passing conversation with the rest of your party, you have an idea of what to say. And I know it's a little bit more work, and some of you might not like having so much work and just would rather come up with it on the fly, and that's perfectly fine. However, I really think having it on paper, even before you play, is a good idea because it gives you the ability to be consistent. And unless you're like an avid note taker while you're playing, it just saves you a lot of time. So when it comes to generating a backstory of some sorts, I highly recommend not creating anything that hasn't been done already, especially if you're a new player. When it comes to developing a backstory, especially if you're a new player, it doesn't matter how cliche your backstory is. When it comes to playing the game and your party members are trying to talk to you, trying to become friends with you as their characters, the more information that you give them, let's say over time, just because you created something cliche, it'll be given to them for the first time. So if you have a D&D character that has some sort of revenge story or whatnot, you can just give them a basic revenge story, and there you go. It's just over time they'll wonder, why are you being more aggressive towards this person versus another person? For the DMs out there, I highly recommend that you work with your players, because when you work with your players in terms of developing their characters and their backstories, it gives you an idea of how to world build. And for the DMs, I highly recommend doing this if you're planning to do a year-long or more campaign, because when you're world building, it gives you ideas of what kind of city do you want to have for this character. To do this, I highly recommend creating your map already, and then having a bunch of your cities, all of your different towns, and have a general idea of what to do, and then talk to your players about that. When you have a player saying, oh, I want to do this here, say your character comes from a noble family. The city that you created, you want it to be more like a port city or someplace where there's not really such thing as a hierarchy. Maybe you can have an embassy for that character in whatever city that you want. Maybe you can have a guild or a mercenaries guild or something that kind of explains why that character is there. And that's why I highly recommend working with your character, with your player, because your player is king to his character, and you don't really want to kind of take that away from them, especially if they're really interested in their character. If you, the DM, or the player, or if both of you are really into it, I highly recommend checking out 50 Questions to Character Development, and I'll put it in the description down below, because in the little, questionnaire, questions that they would use when they're developing characters for movies. And you don't have to answer all of them. Actually, I highly recommend do not answer all of them. Just answer the questions that are most significant for your character, because that way it gives your player more time to think about how they want to play their character. and it gives them questions and guidelines of how their players should think of their character and how to play them. And this could lead to all sorts of things. When your character plays, whatever backstory that they have, it could go out the window depending on how it goes. You could have a character that starts out as someone from royalty and justice, but actually turns into like someone who wants to take matters into their own hands and vigilante and whatnot. And that's perfectly fine. But the key thing is, what would your character do? I want to get this idea out of people's mindset, like a video game where you roll your stats and become OP as fast as you can, and then eventually break the game. It's all about embodying this character that you're not in this fantasy world that you and your friends came up with. And it's important to just go for it, enjoy the world, and have fun. So, I hope you liked this video. I hope you found this video somewhat helpful for you new players and DMs. Let me know if I should create more videos. I'm actually thinking about making a D&D series for this channel. But until next time, this is Francis, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.